Welcome to From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. I'm your host, a holistic healing coach, divorce recovery coach, and a passionate advocate for personal growth and your guide on the journey to healing. This podcast is for those who are struggling with the feelings of loneliness, disconnection, feeling stuck, and who are ready to discover their inner potential and live a life overflowing with love and connection. Inside, we are going to explore the path from pain to transformation, bridging the gap between loneliness and abundance through heartfelt conversations, spirituality, energy work, and self-awareness. So let's get started on this soulful journey together. Welcome to another episode From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. Today's guest is a spark, a soul, a melody, if you will, who really has gone through her own hardships, her own struggles, and is such an advocate for mental health awareness, for addiction awareness, for sharing her own story with people and standing strong with others who feel alone. I can't wait to hear your story and share it with all the listeners today. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such a blessing. I'm full of gratitude to share this space with you and to be a guest today. So thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, it's absolutely a pleasure. For those who don't know Jessica or are not aware of your world, please share a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in North Bay, Ontario. I experienced some trauma throughout my life, years and years of therapy. I was arrested 4 times. And in rehabilitation, I learned a lot of myself. And yeah, as mentioned, just the continuous healing. But my success part, I did graduate from college to be a correctional officer. And that led me into my field as a child and youth worker. I did that for about 15 years. And then I've been working with a school board as an educational assistant for the last 12, 13 years. And then also the last 6 years as a supervisor after school care program at the YMCA. So here in Hamilton, I am married. I have a wife. I have 2 dogs. I'm a high creator of many things, and I'll kind of dabble in a little bit of that if we've got time on the mic. Just with Tree of Stars, I found it in April of 2017, and just creating plays, album releases, running a live Instagram, just kind of having some fun with the community and staying connecting, with journal writing, having events in cafes, all that fun stuff.
Oh my gosh. Your life sounds so full and so full of joy now, but there's always a story. There's always a story that we have gone through, a hardship that we have gone through. So this question is always very close to my heart. What was your loneliness or disconnection moment that has led you into the overflow that you're living right now?
Yeah, you know what? I would honestly consider this so many different layers, but I think there was a moment when I was around 40 years old. I went for a surgery and I had actual time to myself. I had 5 months to rest and just dipping into books of Jay Shetty, Louise Hayes, Gabor Mate. Those just to name a couple, but just like I was in a moment of I guess you could say suicide ideation of I just didn't want to be here anymore. And these books, they brought me to life and, kind of awoke me to say you can love yourself. And these are the exercises to start loving yourself. So if it was, dipping into my journal, reading more and more books of some of the books I read also had workbooks with it, just like practices, meditation, ice plunge, sound healing was a huge thing. Even just recently in the last 4 years, sound healing's been really good. Playing my guitar, photography. So any kind of creative that's going to allow me to release my emotions. And I don't think it's a bad thing to feel lonely or alone. It's what we're going to do with that emotion.
Absolutely. It is absolutely what we do with it. It is, and emotions are not to stay stuck or make us feel stuck. It is actually to make us aware of where our state of mind is so that we can flow through what is actually meant for us, what we actually can grow from. But there are many different things that you already said that I would love to dabble into right now. But the one thing that's really important to bring forward is the importance of creativity. and especially as adults. Because as child, we don't question creativity. We are just creative because that is something we get space for. How difficult was it for you to create that space for creativity again?
Yeah, when I started reaching out to the community and cafes around Hamilton, I wanted other people that felt like they were alone to come and sit with me, to create that safe space, to share their writing if they wanted to share that. Sometimes I had three people show up in a cafe, but then there was moments where I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's 50 people here." Like, what do I do with this?
Wow.
So I've had to kind of ride the wave a little bit
Yeah.
to find spaces to accommodate. And even with the pandemic, I continued to do it every 2 weeks online, the whole entire time. I supported musicians that would come in and play music and different guest speakers. So everything was same with the crisis of homelessness. Myself, I experienced that piece of life, and during the pandemic, just handing out sleeping bags or water bottles or food, anything that the community wanted to help with. So I think the creative piece is not necessarily just with a paintbrush. I think it's how can we help community and ourselves in a creative way? So cafes are always, serving a cup of coffee, and they've always got that space and they want people to come in. So a lot of Hamilton, Burlington, Niagara Falls, North Bay, all those spaces in Ontario area were willing to open their doors for us to come in and have our groups and to write in our journals. And yeah, so lonely versus creative equals community in a sense, right?
I love that. Because you're not only bringing community, you're actually doing service. You're
Yeah.
literally doing service for those who think and feel and believe that there's no one else feeling the way that they do. And with the work that you're doing right now, have you found that there's so much synergy in what you experience yourself as to the people that you're attracting are experiencing right now?
I think, when we go to the family physician and we ask for support, and they say there's a waiting list, but there's also websites for peer support. There's a lot of online stuff. So I know, like, a lot of people experienced, like, with the pandemic and being alone and lonely, but it also has given us kind of like an outlook on kind of a bit of a feedback of, like, if the accessibility. I don't know about you, but sometimes I go for coffee with somebody, and it's like by the time you pay for parking, the gas to get there, then the coffee, then a treat. After 2 hours, it's like, wow, that was $25. So I think, like, having online services could be, beneficial for accessibility and inclusiveness. But at the same time, it's still nice for the in-person to have less isolation and more social. So I
Yeah.
think there's a combination between two. So I think when we're looking at services to the community, have a little bit of both.
Absolutely. And it is important to have both because, like you said, it's not only the money component, it's also sometimes a physical component of people who just can't physically come out. And it is allows them through a screen, just like we having a conversation right now, to really connect with and feel less alone. Now, when we go into your own story, Jessica, because I feel when we share authentically about our own pain points and the overflow that we're living right now, that you are living, that you're creating right now, it gives a beacon of hope to others. So, what would you say was a part of your story that you utilize the most right now because you can so resonate with the people you serve, but you can also showcase to them the other side of it?
Yeah, I think a huge thing for me is really understanding what generational trauma was or is for our parents or our grandparents and where they have come from. Rest my parents, both their souls. I think as I'm older and I understand, like, wow, this is where they came from, and this is what was passed on to me, and what can I do to change that generational curse, and to find remedies to support if it's mental health, substance disorder, And even with 2025, things are really expensive. So if that's having a second job or just sticking together as friends and family and supporting each other as best as we can. So I think that, like you said, the beacon of hope is just to keep going and to take one day at a time, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That one day at a time philosophy is not only for those who are struggling or for those who are having suicidal thoughts and are going through the hardships, is actually for everyone, because tomorrow can completely be different. And we don't know how we're going to feel in that moment based on our past experiences. But like you alluded to, when you have generational trauma, there's already this unseen layer of, but I can't do this. I can't go there. Well, that is for other people. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be 50 years old next year, and I think for me, currently I'm writing a book, and I think for anxiety, depression, PTSD, all the A, B's, and C's, all of the things, we have to be aware of where those emotions and thoughts are coming from. And I think if it's even going to work for the day and feeling, I work in 5 kindergarten classes, so I feel a lot of, emotions with the kids regulating all day. And
Mm-hmm.
for me to come home, one of my number one things is I need to decompress and comprehend my day. And
Mm-hmm.
then I can say hello to the family because I don't want to bring those energies that are unnecessary to my family. And then I can ask, how are you guys doing? So like
Yes.
I think it should be a daily, I mean, for me, it's a daily thing where I have to decompress and comprehend really what's going on. If it's triggering my anxiety or triggering depression, same with the seasons, right? So I think it's definitely one thing to just, I know I mentioned one day at a time, but checking in with yourself, nobody's going to do that better than ourselves. Sometimes it's harder than other days, but then, reaching out to our family physician and getting those referrals to see if, I'm not one to say, I I take medication to sleep at night, just with trauma as a child. So I'm also all up for like new remedies such as meditation, trying to like connect with different groups. So even though I service other people, I also like to service myself to keep myself in check and be my own rock.
Before we dive back in, I have something transformative to share with you. It's called the Alignment Collective: Release, Rebuild, and Rise, my signature group coaching program designed to help you unlock the life you deserve. Every month, we focus on a key area of life, from health to relationships, career, and more. In the first 2 weeks, we energetically release what's holding you back. Then we shift into calling in the abundance and clarity that you desire. And in the final week, we come together for a powerful group coaching, sharing our wins, our challenges, and raising the collective energy. Are you ready to release what doesn't serve you, rebuild your foundation, and rise into your potential? Try it for 50% off with discount code GROWTH. Visit matinasingh.com/meditation. The link is also found in the description. I can't wait to support you on this journey. Self-love and self-care goes deeper than going to a spa or having your hair done. It is such a different experience with meditation, with being aware of your emotions, with bringing that awareness into your own life and being in that remedy of, okay, this would work right now. You mentioned frequency music or playing on your own guitar. Like that is all a power of creative juices, if you will, that allows you to come back home to yourself. And with awareness, with journaling, with meditation, with all of these tools that you're mentioning, it is a next level, I find, to self-care, to self-love, other than going to the spa, having a vacation, really taking the time of having a bench day. Like it doesn't matter what you do, as long as we keep ourselves open for the new things that we see and what we perceive as new. Meditation is not new. It's like decades, centuries old. Yet it is thankfully being brought back more and more and more because we get to come home to ourselves. What does self-care or self-love mean to you?
Yeah, it's honestly just going back to that check-in. So
Mhm.
checking in what I might need in the moment. So I might need some water for hydration. I know there's been a couple times where I go to work and I forget my water bottle and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a day." Right? Like and I'm not drinking out of those taps, only, who knows what's in the tap. So I think hydration, keeping my body in movement, even if it's so simple as 20 minutes. I'm on my feet for 10 hours a day anyway, but I still think like a walk in nature, hug a tree. Um, for me, I know there's all these posts about like read a book, read a book. I take snippets of books because I feel like there's the books that I read, there's definitely practices in there, or sometimes I'll read the same book 3 times. Um, I think watching a funny movie is super important because there's all these documentaries or like reality shows. I think it's nice to take a break and dip into some humor. Going to open mic, I know there's a ton around the Hamilton area where people service music and kind of, promote each other, but it's still nice to bring a journal with me and just kind of, pick up my pen instead of like, being on social media and like that expectation to post something else. I think that pressure for me, one of the books I read about remember why you're posting, remember what the post is about. So if I'm going to post something for myself and other people enjoy that, then that's great. But I think with my creative side, if I'm going to post a new photo and I want to write about it, I hope other people enjoy it and I inspire them, but I post it for myself.
Yeah,
Um, I look back in my memories of on Facebook and, if it's Instagram or TikTok, and I have to reflect back on that piece many times because there's so many influencers out there, and we just have to protect our soul into why we're posting, who we're posting it for, and the reason or the purpose behind that.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's the intention that counts. That's what
And a
I'm
good
hearing.
nap. I was just gonna say a good nap.
I
I
love
never
the
used to
naps.
nap. Getting closer to being 50, I'm like, I can nap, no problem. 20 minutes is not enough. Yeah. So napping is definitely one of my things.
Beautiful. I love that. That is so good. Napping definitely helps you to come home and listen to yourself and be rejuvenated for whatever is next. Um, Jessica, I do want to ask. I know you went to college with all of the things that you've gone through, and you went back to college. And now you're choosing to be the advocate for mental health, to be the advocate for addiction. What made you decide to do that?
I think when one door closes, one opens. My my lived experience versus a textbook. I think there's way more in the lived experience. Um, it's almost like when I tried sound healing, I looked around and everybody was pretty much snoring. And I was like, I'm not at that level yet. Um, but I gave it a chance. So I think like, having ADHD and that creates a disability. So I take longer on reading things. I take longer on learning or focusing, or if I'm in tune of learning something. So I think for me, being in the correctional system, I already knew a bunch of that information. I knew that there was an opportunity for me to go be real and be myself in my career. And to be an advocate, I know that um, there's so many holes in the system. And even just to think of wait lists, I don't think anybody should have to wait for their mental health or addictions. But unfortunately, we live in an environment, I don't know, like even globally, I know there's other countries that are better off than ours, but I do appreciate, not to dip into the politics, but um yeah, we shouldn't have to wait. So I feel like I was very fortunate to be arrested and sentenced 4 times to get the supports that I needed. So for me to go back and be out in the community and advocate and say, listen, I've been there, done that, went to school, give me a job, let me go support other people. And and it starts early. Kids could pick up vapes or cigarettes, with mental health. It's super easy just to slide into that. So I'm a voice for others, and that I hope is my legacy.
Even the fact that you want to be the voice for others makes all the difference. And that intention that you put behind everything that you do, be that journaling in a cafe or be that doing a workshop, it just pours through and people feel the the intentionality behind it. Because when you are doing something with the intent to serve, with the intent to help others move through things, it just amplifies.
Yeah, and I think this is a good moment to say, like, I am not a perfect human. I really try to stay my authentic self. I don't know how Justin Bieber does it. No, I'm just kidding. Um, because there's so many people out there that could perceive to be somebody else, and when you meet them, they're not who they really are. So I think this is a good moment for me to say that I still struggle. I know my resources. I love what I do. But I'm not that perfect human. I am myself. And through that, I think that that's where the voice is. And it's okay not to be okay. I believe that's something one of the musicians, that I saw the other day, Jelly Roll and Post Malone in Toronto, there's songs that they sing and they hope that it connects with other people. So if it's meditation or music or sound healing, people are going to connect with that. And if they don't connect with it right away, my message is to just give it another try 2 or 3 or 4 times because it will kick in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Only a humble person will say, I'm not perfect. And I commend you for saying that and staying authentic, staying in your own authentic self and being like, this is who I am, flawed and all. But right now, my intention is to do A, B, and C. And if that is what you need right now, I'm here for you. There's so much power in that. And yes, there is so much out there in this world where people sometimes are put on this pedestal because they have a world known book or because they have done A, B, and C in the world. At the end of the day, they're also human beings, flawed in their own rights, having their own struggles, going through it all, and deciding what matters to them to really show up and share whatever message they are sharing in that moment. When I look back to TV shows or even like great singers, pop stars, Post Malone is a great person who just is like, this is my raw music. Pink, I love Pink. She's also another one who will be very loud in sharing what she truly feels and thinks.
Yeah,
Are they
I had the opportunity to see Gabor Mate. He was in Toronto a couple weeks ago, and it was an aunt friend of my family that couldn't attend, and she said there's a free ticket, and I was like 3 rows away from him, and him being a family physician and a therapist and a book writer, he had so many messages in 2.5 hours. One of the things he said was, we have to hug our past and give ourselves grace. And that's one of the big messages that I got from him. And, he talks about the generational trauma and we got to read and dip into his books. He talks about ADHD and the physical symptoms from trauma if we don't deal with it. So this comes back to the self-love, self-care. Pick up those books. The library has free books to go read and to give back to yourself. And I think the accessibility of having audiobooks now, it's super awesome. So I think it goes back to self-reflection, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You are so resourceful. Throughout the whole conversation, you're literally pouring into the listener. giving them ideas, giving them resources, giving them how you did it, why you do it, all of it. And I love that because in this moment right here, right now, what I am noticing is a beautiful lady who wants to pour into others and respects her own boundaries and knows where she stands.
Yeah, I definitely, I do pour for others. I also notice like if my plate is, kind of getting a little full, I have to step into those boundaries. And one of the things that, I guess it goes back to that self-love, self-care that you were talking about. And maybe I should have mentioned this. So in the moment, the boundaries of all of the people in our lives, if it's a mother, father, neighbor, doing too much for the teacher we work with, or so I think like the answer of saying like no, not right now, or I'm really sorry, but unfortunately I've got a lot going on right now. I think that's okay to make sure that our boundaries reflect what's on our plate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I love that. So, Jessica, we have a little ritual on this podcast where I get to ask you a question that the previous guest has left. I want to bring that out and share with you. I'm curious to hear what you're going to say. This is so fitting. The question is, what are ways that you struggle with to give yourself permission?
Yeah, this is a good one. I think giving myself like time and space. Again, I'm married and my wife gives me I guess the things that I need. I'll say, I just need like 5 minutes right now, or I need 15 minutes. So that's an empowering piece because that shows that I'm in control of my life. And in that moment, if that's what I need, or just stepping out of situations for a minute so that we're one of the big things I say is like if you ever get like a text message from a family member or somebody that's upset, give it 24 hours. Who says that we have to respond right away just because they can see that we saw the message, right? So giving ourselves space and not reacting towards situations that, because our emotions, it could be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person said this. And then
Mm-hmm.
24 hours later, it's like, was it really a big deal? I could have reacted. So I think like, in my childhood teen years where I did react and I was, arrested for my behaviors. I think as an adult, I've stayed pretty clean to like not react. And if you're in situations where you're at a concert and somebody nudges you and they're influenced by alcohol, it's not to react. It's like, you know what? I hope you take some Tylenol tonight and drink some water. So it's making sure that we're safe and boundaries, all that stuff. So I give my permission to the boundaries and my permission to my safe space and to just keep doing what I want to do in my life. And that's okay to be selfish.
I don't think it's selfish at all. I think it's actually self needed that we give ourselves permission. And the more that we do it as humanity, the more that we are going from that reaction into the responding.
Yeah.
And that is really what you just shared right now. There, it's like, no, I used to react. Now I'm doing this, and this helps me, and this is my boundary, this is my permission slip to me, and that helps. It is not selfish. It is perfect.
Yeah.
It is selfless because you're serving not only yourself, but you're also serving the other person.
I think with the struggle of like diagnoses of like ADHD, it is because I do sometimes want to like react where I'm like, I do this thing with the kids in the class and I'm like, breathe up the mountain, breathe down the mountain, up the mountain. So we get to the number 5 and I do it with them. And I'm like, wow, I feel way better that I did those 5 deep breaths. And the last one, I'm always like telling the kids, like, make sure it's like a dragon with fire, but like, letting it all out. So I think that whatever we're struggling with, if you're using the 5 deep breaths or if you're taking that space, setting those boundaries and not reacting, give your permission, to yourself for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it has been absolutely a pleasure having you on, Jessica. Thank you for sharing all your tools, all your wisdom, and being so raw and authentic. And even saying, I am flawed and I am on my own path. And yes, I have boundaries. Yes, I give myself permission to take those boundaries on. And at the same time, I believe in what I do. And that's why I do all of these different things of my life where you are doing the journaling, where you're doing the workshops, where you're showing up for children. And that on its own is no small feat. So I want to thank you for being on the podcast. Anyone who feels inspired to connect with Jessica, all her information is in the description below. Reach out, connect. I'm sure she'll respond and have a conversation. But really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you so much. As I put my hand on my heart, I just want to say thank you for having this space and doing what you do, and keep shining. And I'm super thankful for this connection. And I'm sure we will see one another out in the community somewhere. And yeah, again, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has helped you to feel less alone in finding tools towards a life which is overflowing with love and purpose. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to reach more individuals who are seeking healing and personal growth just like you. And don't forget to take a screenshot and share your aha moments on your Instagram stories and tag me, Matina. See you next week. Take care.